What's going on, everyone? Welcome, Rabid here, and BITMAIN just shocked the world. Well, maybe not the world. They sure as heck shocked me. I don't know if they shocked you or not, but let's take a look at this, see if you guys are aware about this yet. But here it is. The L11 series is on the way. Get ready for the next level of performance. Full specs revealed. Stay tuned. And this is, in fact, the next generation of script mining, which is Litecoin, Dogecoin. They just released the Antminer L9. Now, this isn't a full next generation. They are calling it the L11, which should be next generation. But they just released the L9 like not even a year ago. And usually they release their script miners every 3 to 4 years. And in this case, it's an updated version. It is a lot better than an L9, but it's not a full generation. We'll kind of talk about more of that in a minute, but it is kind of insane here that the L11 is already announced and set to release sometime by the end of this year. So coming into Crypto Miner Bros here, which is one of my main go-to for ASIC miners, we can see down here, and obviously links will be in the description as well as discount codes and stuff for you guys. If you're looking for these, they are obviously sold out because they are not in stock or even made or anything yet. So everything is subject to change. The prices obviously will be changing. I have no idea if these will be legit or not. It depends on the price of Dogecoin and Litecoin and everything. We could possibly see a huge Dogecoin spike from BITMAIN coming in. As we know, whenever new miners release, we see that. So maybe new all-time high for Dogecoin coming, huh? We can only hope. We can only hope. But who knows what's going to happen there. But the point here, as we can see, so far is looking like around $11,000 for the L11 Pro, $10,000 for the L11, which is 20 gigahash. Then here we have the big 6U Dogecoin absolute liquid cooled beast, 33 gigahash for $19,000. Absolutely insane. So coming into mining now, it does look like they have these miners listed. Obviously, remember, they're not yet released, and it looks like sometime Q4 of 2025. That is based on what Miner Bros is telling us here, Q4 2025. Could be a bit sooner, could be later, could be next year. We have no idea. Point here is looking at current profitability. Remember, this depends on price. Obviously, with these miners, network hash rate is going to increase, making these drop more. But if the price increases as well, then obviously it'll make more. And there's, going into that. But the L11 Hydra 6U is saying currently about $30.50 a day at 12-cent power. Not too shabby, but this thing is like $19,000. So $19,000 for $30 a day. I don't know if it's really worth it. Obviously, this is for big guys because home miners are not going to be running these Hydra-powered freaking crazy things. So we do have the L11 20 gigahash model at about $18.37. For the price and stuff, it is about, actually, this is technically cheaper than when the L9 released the 15 gigahash version. But the 15 gigahash version, because the way the mining pools were set up and new coins were releasing, and the big pools weren't on these small cap coins with Mining Dutch had them, we're actually making the L9 about 80 to 100 and some dollars a day on the L9, where the L11 now is coming in at only $17 a day, and it's a much better miner. So, you can just see the shift on how large pools can destroy smaller coins that actually were paying home miners quite a bit. So it's pretty crazy here, but the profitability isn't looking very hot, at least at this current time frame. Now, I mentioned earlier about how this isn't really a next generation miner, even though it's named the next generation. Let's take a look at the generation gaps between the miners. So the L7, what they originally did is first they released the 9.5 gigahash version. All of them used the same amount of power at about 3,425 watts. Real life test, I never did have an L7, so I'm not sure, but I do believe it fluctuated between all these. And depending on your platform, like Hive on firmware, for example, you could have got the 8.8 or 9 gigahash version and then propped it up to the 9.5 version through their firmware and stuff. So there are options out there to save money on the cheap ones and still perform like the good ones. Anyway, point here is we can see 9.5 gigahash at 3425 watts, which is 2.773 megahash per single watt of power used. Obviously this was great efficiency at the time, but compared to today's standards, these absolutely suck. So moving forward now, we can see a generation gap, the L9 here, 16 gigahash hash at 3,360 watts. We can see almost a double of the efficiency at 4.76. We're using less power than the L7, and we're not quite, but we are almost double the hash rate. Again, not quite. We're 2 gigahash shy of doubling that, maybe 2.5, 3 gigahash shy of doubling it, but a huge boost in performance, less power, and almost double that. Now, coming in at the L11s, that's not the case. We do see an efficiency boost, obviously, but we're only going from 4.76 to 5.43 to 5.81, depending which model you look at. And I do think all these numbers are going to change as we get closer to release time and real life testing. Will I get one for real life testing? I don't know. Any of you guys out there going to send me one? Because I don't think it's going to be worth it to purchase these. Just my 2 cents. But this is going to be one of the most popular miners out there. Script for home miners and ASICs is probably one of the best algorithms for consistent profits. But we'll see what happens, because it looks like they're fast tracking everything. So here we are, less than a year later, instead of 3 to 4 years later, which is when the L11 in theory should have came out. I do believe this is more of like the L9 Pro, the L9 Pro Plus or something like that. This isn't, in my mind, necessarily an L11. It doesn't have the performance boost like it should that the name suggests. So the L13, the way BITMAIN's doing, that might come out in another year and 2 years. By the time we actually get to the performance generation gap, that's probably going to be like the L15, the way BITMAIN seems to be pumping out these miners now. It seems like they're doing it a lot faster. Maybe they see dollar signs and trying to capitalize on the so-called, crypto peak cycle of 2025, which I do think Doge peaked, but hopefully this new miner may now make a new crypto pump towards the end of the year, which is the time a lot of these coins are going to start pumping to their all-time highs. We might get a second chance on Dogecoin. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you never know. Not financial advice. But here we can see a small increase in efficiencies. Obviously, it's going to be the new best miner, but it's not a full generation. I do not think this is warranted, the L11 name, over something like an L9 Pro or L9 Plus Plus or something like that. I do think this is still in the L9 type of category, not necessarily an L11. Anyway, guys, that is the current updated news on Doge mining. I just seen this morning when I got up, and I was like, what is BITMAIN doing? Is it April Fool's Day? Am I lost track of time? What is happening? But it does look like the L11 series is on its way from BITMAIN. Again, quick wrap up here. I do think this is more of an L9 Plus, not necessarily an L11. It is not a full generation gap ahead of the L9, and it's going to be expensive, especially for the type of profits that's currently out there. But we may be warranted for a possible big Doge pump to make sense for these miners at the current time when they release. No idea, not financial advice. If you're looking for any type of ASIC miners or anything in general, links down in the description as well as discount codes. Thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button. I'll see you on the next one. Rabid out.